To business now, following a 0.14% drop in equity capitalization on Friday, investors in the Nigerian stock market lost 38.02 billion naira. Shareholders' total investment in the stock market declined from 25.52 trillion naira on Thursday to 25.48 trillion naira today as a result of a drop. The all-share index fell 70.55 basis points to settle at 47,282.67, down from 47,353.22 the day before. On Friday, investors traded 599.50 million shares for 3.83 billion naira in 4,113 transactions. Now on Thursday, 239.73 million shares worth 3.89 billion naira changed hands in 3,848 transactions, surpassing the previous high of 239.73 million shares worth 3.89 billion naira. Joining me on the news now is Azeez Lawal, the Managing Director at Trustbanc Asset Management Limited. Thank you very much for joining me, Azeez.
Thank you for having me.
It's always glad to have you on the news. Now, Azeez, Nigeria's next Monetary Policy Committee, the meeting holds this week. Do you have any predictions as to what the meeting will be?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, for more context, right? Last week we saw the U.S. Federal Reserve's increase their home benchmark rate by 25 basis points. And that was the first increase since 2018. In fact, in March 2020, they reduced it to zero. Interestingly, it was in 2020 that Nigeria also last increased their benchmark lending rate. A day after we saw the Fed increase rates last week, we also saw the Bank of England do the same thing. So they increased their benchmark interest rates also to 0.75%. Typically for these developed economies presently, the goal of these rate hikes is largely to tackle inflation. In our own case, as for Nigeria, our economic and monetary realities are a bit different, even though our inflation is also rising. So, so the key question that the CBN will most likely answer tomorrow is do we see the CBN playing catch up with these developed economies or wait to cut through the global rate hike noise? Because we've seen other similar economies also increasing rates as well. The latter is more likely, that is, we expect the CBN to hold rates, considering the CBN's overriding goal of growing the economy. We have seen that even when the Nigeria's inflation rate was significantly above the levels that we are presently, we still saw the CBN hold tight on rates. The last rate hike was September 2020. So we expect the CBN to still hold on these rates. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Azeez Lawal, for that insight. Now, looking back at last week, would you say there were any major developments that influenced the performance of stocks?
Yeah, the market was largely quiet last week. In fact, activity levels waned significantly across volumes and value traded. That was largely what drove the bearish performance, because the bulls really did not turn up because of weaker activity levels. So aside from, so we saw one or two dividend announcements last week, but they were not enough to move the market in favor of the bulls. We see similar trend playing out this week. Thank you.
Okay. So what should we be looking forward to in the fixed income market for this week? Now, we've seen what happened last week. What are the expectations for this week?
Yes, it's going to be, to start the week, today is the fixed bond auction for the month. So we expect that today market is going to be very, very quiet, and market players are going to be cautious in anticipation of the outcome of today's auction. For the rest of the week, what would drive activities for the rest of the week is going to be the outcome of today's meeting and level of liquidity in the system. Thank you.